So this is the 6th shop tour I've done on this channel. The first one was way back in 2009. In that video, I mentioned that I find it valuable to see other people's shops and get some ideas to improve my own workspace, and I still believe that. This shop looks a lot different than it did 14 years ago. I wish I had video and shot video back 23 years ago when I actually set the shop up, or even some pictures, but I don't have any. A workshop is a constantly evolving space because as craftspeople, we're always changing. The things that we build, the tools we use, we often discover new interest, or we might just move on from older ones. As a result, our layouts and our workflows change to fit our current needs. That's a big piece of advice for anybody setting up a workshop. Don't get too concerned with setting it up perfectly right from the start. There's just no way to know what layout is going to work best, or what kind of storage you need, or until you actually start building things. Remain flexible, pay attention, and just allow the space to evolve. By the way, if you're interested in a deep dive into setting up a shop, please check out my online course, The Weekend Workshop. In it, I absolutely cover everything you're going to need to know to set up a workshop or to improve an existing workshop. Everything from lighting to air quality to the fixtures in your shop to the workflow, power concerns. I'll take you step by step through all of it. Plus, I'll show you how to build 15 shop projects, almost everything you see in my shop. The course is designed to set up your own kind of woodworking sanctuary in any space, no matter how small. Even if it's a garage that you have to share with kids' toys or bikes or camping gear or Christmas decorations or even a car. And you'll be able to do all of this without a huge budget. This method has helped thousands of people set up their own shops. It's the most comprehensive system available in the world. I hope you'll check it out at theweekendworkshop.com. To get started, I wanted to give you a quick flyover of my shop in its natural state, and then I'll tidy it up and show you around. I just finished building this bookcase, and I need to get this out of the shop first. There's always a fair amount of clutter in my shop after building a project, but I'm getting a lot better at it as the years go by. So actually the shop doesn't look too bad right now. In general, I've become much more minimalist over the years and have embraced a more intentional shop. I only buy new tools when I absolutely need something, or my old tool finally just breaks, and I just get rid of tools that I no longer use. Believe it or not, the amount of stuff in my shop is about half of what it was a decade ago. Keeping my shop less cluttered kind of frees my mind and allows me to be more creative and a lot more productive. There's no reason why you can't build amazing things with a limited set of affordable tools in a small space. And that's what I like to demonstrate in my videos. I rarely buy new tools, and I keep my lumber supply very small and just purchase what I need for a project. Okay, I spent all day yesterday decluttering my shop, getting rid of a whole bunch of junk that I don't need anymore, some extra lumber, and just cleaning it up in general so it looks nice and pretty for you. I want to point out that I work out of a 2-car garage. This was built in 1956. It's a small size 2-car garage, 19 foot by 19 foot, and I consider kind of this outdoor driveway space is kind of part of my shop because I work out here a lot. This is my BMW, my basic mobile workbench. If you've taken one of my courses, that will be very familiar to you. It sits out here almost all the time, and right now you can see that I use it for painting and finishing projects, but the plywood on there is starting to delaminate because we've had a bunch of rain lately, so I'll be replacing that pretty soon. Okay, I need to get out of the sunlight and I'll take you inside and show you around. Oh, but first I want to show you this table saw. This is an old Porter cable table saw that a bunch of viewers got together and kind of secretly donated their money and bought me this saw back in February of 2012. So I've had this thing for 12 years now. I still love this saw, and that was such a great thing because before that I was just using a little bitty kind of Black & Decker skill saw, table saw thing, and it was definitely an upgrade. I like it because it's on wheels and I can just push it out of the way when I'm not using it. When I'm using it, or usually most of the time, it's just kind of parked right here, right by the garage door, so that it's easy to push wood through it. I can use my BMW to just as an outfeed table for the lumber as I'm cutting it. And I think that really that would be my first tip if you're setting up a new workshop in a garage space, is to set the table saw right at the garage door. I don't have a dedicated dust collection system in my shop because all of my tools are mobile. So what I do is I use my shop vac and I just hook it up to any of the tools as I'm using them. I have two fundamental principles for setting up a workshop in a small space. First, put all of your tools and workbenches and everything else on wheels. If you have to share the garage with a car, you can easily pull your tools out into the shop when you're using them and just push them back against the walls when the cars are taking up the space. Working in this manner takes up very little floor space. I have never actually parked any cars in this shop, but I still put all of my tools on casters because I just love the freedom that mobile tools offer me. And my second principle is to set your shop up in zones. This means to consider your workflow and keep all similar tools and accessories together. Keep all finishing supplies and brushes and solvents and paints together. Keep all of your sanders and sandpaper together. Glue should be kept near the clamps, drill bits near the drill, router bits should be with the router, and so on. This will take time to figure out what zones work best for you and how to arrange things. There's going to be some outliers. You got to try to figure out where they go, but it'll force you to consider the best storage solutions for everything. Everything needs a home. If you've never established a permanent home for, say, your random orbit sander, chances are it's just going to end up taking up space on whatever horizontal surface is nearest. Orphan tools need forever homes. So starting out over here is my dust collection system. This is just a shop vac that I've got hooked up to a bucket here as a separator. It kind of saves the lifespan of the shop vac a little bit. This cabinet here is really handy because it takes up this space, that little area behind the garage door here. So I can just slide this open like that. Right now I keep not a lot of stuff in there right now. I've got my Dremel tool and an engraver, just things that I don't use a whole lot. I wish I had a better spot for these table saw sleds down here, but I don't, and that seems to work out okay. Right over here is my router. I built this router table probably 12, 13 years ago, maybe. Okay, I know I'm gonna get a lot of questions about my artwork. Okay, so just so you know, I'm a huge horror movie fan. I've loved horror movies since I was like 6 years old, and these are Halloween projects from various videos throughout the past 15 years. And these are like from the Blair Witch Project, and then this is like some spooky hand, bony hand I made a while ago. And then of course my skull pentagram, which is really what that is it's a comment generator. So it kind of boosts engagements on my videos. People love to comment about that, but what they like to comment on more is my Ouija board that I made probably 6 years ago. And for some reason that one just pushes people's buttons. So I like to leave it there where people can see it. These are a couple of art projects I made a while back. This is a great way to use up some scrap wood. I just cut a bunch of different species of wood into wedges and just kind of glued them all together. And here also I've just put a bunch of different types of wood and then made them all into kind of this mosaic. And now we're moving into a couple of projects from the weekend workshop course. This is the basic mobile workbench plus, the BMW Plus, and it's the same construction as the regular BMW, the one that's out in the driveway, but on this one it's got a lot more drawers for keeping things and then a couple of cabinets here for storage. I have one vise in my shop. This is the only one I ever use. It's a really cheap one and I use it for mostly if I need to cut a bolt in half or something like that. And I don't give it a whole lot of use. This is the home hardware store, and this is a really fun project despite looking at all of those drawers and thinking how monotonous that is to make. Well, it sort of is monotonous to make it. But again, what I do here is I have all of these things. I don't have them labeled. You could label this, and people always ask me why I don't. What I do here is I work in zones. So I'll have like bolts over here, and I'll have some screws over here, and then so I can just generally know where things are, and then it just takes a minute or two to find what I'm looking for. I call it the home hardware store because it reminds me of going to a real hardware store where you could go and just pull out a drawer and pick out a single nut if you want one. A lot of the stuff on my walls are things that viewers have sent me over the years. I just really love this picture. This is a drawing of Jason from Friday the 13th. I made this frame with the dripping blood, and then this was a machete that I made also from an old Halloween video. The strange thing is I'm not really a huge fan of the Friday the 13th series, but you know, I guess it is what it is. This is my drill press here. This is a really old Ryobi. I don't even know if they still make drill presses, but this is when they were blue, and it functions pretty well. I made this drill press table for it with the sliding stop block. Super handy. If you're gonna have a drill press, I highly recommend making a table for it. And so during the lockdown pandemic, I also built this for it. This is a stand so that, again, I can keep all of the stuff together that I need. Like down here, those are all of my Forstner bits. And then I include my compressor here, brads and nails. Here's another brad nailer in there. Over here, we've got a couple of kind of action stands. Let me show you how these work. So this is my miter saw station. So this way, what I can do is cut long boards this way. This isn't, there we go. Cut long boards and have them fully supported on either of these wings. And of course, I've got some extra storage here because I use these for stop blocks that I can clamp to the fence. In addition to a trash can, I've also got a couple of cross-cut sleds over here. Again, not an ideal solution. I probably should keep those over with the other ones. Always a work in progress. This is my flip top tool stand. I'm using it for two different types of sanders. On this side, I've got my disc sander, and it's got a 1-inch belt sander on this side. I really love this tool. I get so much use out of this. This is like one of those tools I would recommend getting is a disc sander. And I've got a spindle sander. What I do is pull these out, and then this whole thing just flips around this way. And that's my spindle sander up on top. And down here, I've got a drawer for all of those accessories. This is my kind of modular hand tool storage system here. I keep pliers and wrenches and things on here, and it's modular because all of these different pieces are kind of custom made, and they just hook onto these French cleats so that you can arrange them kind of however you want. Two storage systems here. I've got my drill station here and my sanding station here. So the way this works is I keep my drill and driver down here, and then right above them I've got the chargers for the batteries. These are all of my drill bits and drill bit accessories. So like I keep this top always empty, or at least as much as I can, so then whenever I bring something up here, I can look for whatever I need, and then I just put it right back where it belongs. And this is the sanding station. I've got sanding discs over here arranged by grit. This is the coarsest grit down here going all the way up to the finest. And then I've got slots here for sheets of sandpaper. My supply is kind of low right now, but I still have some in there. Keep my two sanders up there. I've got this little finishing sander and then my random orbit sander that I use all the time. Up here I've got odds and ends. I've got some sheets of sandpaper and some steel wool. And then I've got another storage down here with more stuff. These sanding sticks I use all the time. These are just sandpaper that I've glued onto boards, and they're really handy. And additional storage down here where I can keep my dust masks. This is my fold down work center. It saves a lot of space, although to be honest, it's almost always in the down position because I usually have junk on it, which I shouldn't do because it really looks nice when it's all folded up like this. But these legs come out like that and this just unhooks and it sits down like that. And so I've got drawers over here. This is where I keep all of my pocket hole screws over on this side, and then all of my commonly used screws over on this side, and then screws and nuts and assorted things over in here. Got some more past projects over here. My most viewed video ever, which is this nail through the wood trick. A lot of people have copied this over the years. And then some magic tricks here, some puzzles, and then this is a bandsaw box. I'm really fond of this design. And this is one of my favorite books ever, 14,000 Things to Be Happy About. Somebody sent me this when I was doing my lockdown woodworking series. For every day I was making a video for that entire year, and it's just a lot of things to just kind of pick you up. So I just occasionally I just come up here and I'll just randomly pick something. You want to do it? You want to do one? Okay, hold on. How about right here? Ice carving, right? It's just something to be happy about. You want to do another one? Okay. Noodle, Texas. This is my lumber cart. I just thinned out the hoard yesterday, so it's pretty well organized now. I keep solid lumber on this side, short pieces. Even these are probably a little bit long to keep here. I could keep them on my other rack. And then on this side, I keep sheet goods, which are falling apart. So that means it's mostly plywood on this side. And then up here on the top, I've got a large assortment of dowels. For some reason, I use dowels a lot. Over here is my clamp storage, and it's pretty efficient. And I also keep this little box here that has glue and towels and little glue spreaders and things there. But you know, people always say you can never have enough clamps, but honestly, I've had this exact number of clamps for many years and I've gotten along just fine. This door leads to my backyard, then up to the house, and I wanted to point these out. These are some ornaments that somebody also made me during the pandemic. This was Princess Meow Meow, our other cat, used to be in my videos, and then Cobra and Bubbles, our current two cats. This is a problem area. This is my janky makeshift podcast studio. So I've just got everything kind of piled up here in my laptop. There's my mic, which everything just always gets coated with sawdust in this shop. So, you know, one of these days I'm gonna make kind of a proper podcast booth, something that's portable maybe, that I don't know. I've been saying this for like 3 or 4 years now and I still haven't gotten around to it. Here's my other storage unit for lumber. This is for long boards, 2x4s and stuff. And you know, like I said at the beginning, I try not to keep a lot of extra lumber on hand. I try to just use what I have and don't get too much. This is my most recent tool purchase, this little bandsaw. This is a Win 9-inch bandsaw. I absolutely love it. And since I got that saw, I needed a stand for it, so I built this mobile tool stand, which we just added to the weekend workshop course too. So I think that makes 15 projects. This is my handy cart. I love this thing because I can just wheel it around wherever. What I'm using it for is table saw accessories so that I can just wheel it right over to my table saw. Got a few grippers on there. This is the Rio storage shelf. This is the first project in the weekend workshop course, and it's super simple to make with just a miter saw. I use it for storing all of my handheld power tools. In case you're wondering, it's called the Rio because that stands for, really, I'm organized. And this is my finishing zone over here. I've got a utility sink over here. If you can put a sink in your shop, I highly recommend it. This thing has come in so handy over the years for cleaning out brushes, cleaning my hands, or whatever. I keep this cabinet filled with finishing supplies and lots and lots of towels. This is my mobile finishing cart. This thing is super handy because it's got all of my finishing supplies in one place. I can wheel this out to whatever it is I'm finishing. And the way this works is I've got a roll of craft paper here, so I can pull this off and put it over a workbench so I can finish on top of that if I want to. I can also pull it over the top of the stand if I want to keep it clean with whatever I'm working on. I keep a roll of paper towels here, shop towels, masking tape over here. These are finishing gloves, foam brushes, extra finishing towels and various solvents down there. On the back side, or on this side, I keep brushes, and these are scraps of wood that I keep around for stirring up paint. On the back side is this cabinet where I just keep more finishing supplies. On this side, I've got a Lazy Susan that I can set on here like this, and then if I'm spraying a project, I don't have to keep walking all the way around it. And I like to spray paint stuff, so here's all of my spray paints. This is my dust filtration system. This thing works out really well. It looks like the filter needs to be cleaned in it right now, but I leave that on for a few hours after I'm working to get all of the airborne sawdust removed. And the lighting in my shop are a whole bunch of these LED strips. I've kind of got them all over the place. Those are on 3 different switches, so I can use them wherever I need them. Usually all 3 switches are on at the same time. And then I've got this loft area up here. It won't support a lot of weight, but I do keep like my foam insulation there that I use for breaking down plywood. And then I've got these absurd cabinets way up here. I built those like 20 years ago, but they're so high, I mean, it's not like I really keep anything in there. And finally, in the middle of my workshop is my main workbench. This is just a variation on the basic mobile workbench. It's a little bit larger and beefier. And yeah, of course it's on casters.